So, Mary, how was your first encounter with Frida Kahlo, the worldwide Mexican painter?
I've met a lot of people in my life, but meeting someone from afar coincidentally was something quite new to me. Moreover, it was a famous painter.
Would you like to enlighten us about what happened?
Well, of course. That's what I'm here for, aren't I? It was around 5 years ago. After I finished one of my research in South Africa, I stayed there for another 5 days at Cape Town. I thought that it would be nice to take a break from work. On the very first day, I decided to go to the Central first, of course. There was a small group tour of 4, so I took the opportunity to join them. Apparently, Frida was there too. All of us got on a cable car together for sightseeing. She seemed lonely, so I sat beside her and chat about a few common things. Where she was from, how the scenery was like, what cuisine to dig in at noon. We enjoyed the tremendous view of the Table Mountain together. After that, we decided to visit the penguin colony of Boulder's Beach. The penguins were adorable. I love animals, dogs especially. Frida seemed to love them too. We didn't talk much. Frida wasn't the chattery type. I was fine with that, Her company itself felt warm.
Let's meet again tomorrow. If you're fine with it, that is.
Was what she said. I agreed and we set the time and place. We met again at the Cape Town City Center Hotel and had breakfast. We shared a conversation or two and got along pretty well. Afterwards, we visited the Aquila Game Reserve Wildlife Safari. As how safaris are, we got on an open-air safari vehicle to begin our game drive. It was Frida's first time doing such activity, so she was nervous and a bit anxious. So we observed the wild animals like African elephants, Cape buffaloes, lions, leopards, rhinoceros, and others which are rarely seen in other places. We both had a remarkable time and learned about the reserve wild animals and bird life from our game ranger guide. On the third day, we got on a bus to take a delight of the view at Christenbosch Botanical Gardens. The atmosphere was rather quiet while we were there, unusually quiet. As I was talking about how beautiful the nature was, Frida cut me off in a serious tone, or rather, a frightened tone. She called out my name and I turned my gaze to her.
Mary? Could you hold my hand for a bit?
I was caught off guard when I saw her trembling physique. I held her hands and she clutched onto mine tightly. They were cold. "You're terrible, Mary," was all that I could think of. I didn't even realize how long she has been like this. When the bus stopped, we got off immediately. I gave her a warm drink and eased her down. After she did, she voluntarily started telling me about an incident that happened to her in the past. A bus accident. It was a miracle that she survived, and was an incident that scared her for life. I couldn't help but to apologize to her numerous times for not asking her first before deciding to get on the bus. But Frida being Frida, she said that it was nothing. We sat there a bit longer as we conversed. The topics of our conversations were somehow deeper than the previous ones. We learned more about each other. The next stop was the Signal Hill. We watched the sunset together. Both of us were indulged into the beauty of the multiple-hued sky. But what I mostly adored were our conversations.
It's been so long since the sky have been this beautiful.
Frida said as a smile was drawn on her face. I grinned back and started talking about the time when I discovered the first fossilized proconsul skull. So the story went on until the sun already sunken into the ocean. It was bittersweet. The day after, it was another wonderful day. We explored unique wineries and landscapes of Stellenbosch and Franschhoek. The wines were definitely well aged. We also visited a few historic cities around the area. It was my cup of tea, of course. I couldn't help but to ramble some of the historical facts I knew to Frida. She kept listening even so. Then we saw Groot Drakenstein Prison, which is a historical prison that held the South African leader Nelson Mandela. That day was a new experience for the both of us. On the final day, we booked a dinner at Maloncino restaurant. It was a cruise and dine dinner. Quite the price, but perfect for the occasion. We toasted our champagne and savored the three-course dinner while appreciating the sunset. More or less words were exchanged. As we got off the cruise, it was already farewell. Before we parted, Frida gave me a small portrait of me as a parting gift. It was beautiful, really unique, but suited her style.
See you again, Mary. It was a lovely trip.
She smiled and walked away. I watched her until she was no longer in sight. I observed the painting again and realized there was something written at the back.
I don't think I'll be able to erase you from my memories. Thank you for sitting next to me in the cable car.
There, included an unknown address. It was probably hers. Little did the both of us know that it was the last time that we got to see each other.
So, did you visit her in Mexico?
Yes, I did. 4 years after the trip, I visited Mexico, but I guess I was too late. When I went to the address she gave me, I was weirded out because there were so many people. I thought I got the wrong place until I saw a sign with Frida Kahlo Museum in Spanish written on it. I asked one of the people there what happened, and he said that Frida was no longer with us.
How did you feel when you heard the unfortunate news?
Surely I felt horrible, wretched even. But soon after, I looked around the museum and learned a lot about her and what she went through. 8 days before her passing, she finished her final painting, Viva la Vida, which means long live life. And in her diary, she wrote, "I hope the exit is joyful and I hope never to return." And strangely, after I stepped out of the museum, I somehow felt relieved for her. It seemed like she was waiting for that very moment. She surely endured enough. But even though we've only spent time for 5 or less days, that trip was a lifetime trip. Frida Kahlo. That name is engraved in my memories, as well as her smile.